Things Possible TV. I'm Kris Barney, and I'm thrilled to have you with me today. Today, our episode is, what are your empowered possibilities? I want you to really think about that. What are the possibilities for you in your life right now? And are you taking deliberate action towards getting those possibilities, towards taking that next step and moving forward? We're going to go into some detail, but before we do, I want to invite you to go to our website. There is a free gift there for you. It's my 7 traits that you can live by that will ultimately change your life today if you will just go and implement them. So go to my website at allthingspossible.biz. It's right here on the screen, allthingspossible.biz. Get your free 7 traits. Okay, let's go ahead and really get into this episode. This is going to be a shorter episode today, but I just wanted to have a chance to talk to you about what are the empowered possibilities for you. I've been creating content and preparing the final stuff for a retreat that I'm doing, which is a 3-day event. It takes a lot of focus and a lot of work to put on a retreat. And as I've been preparing for this, the thoughts have come back to me over and over on what does it really mean to have empowered possibilities? What does that mean to you? There are a lot of things that we can do in our life, and there's a lot of ways that we get to the point that we're at in our life. But are you where you want to be? What are those possibilities in your life for you? Are you doing everything that you want? You know, I was looking at my life this last weekend. I just had a big birthday, a big number, and I had a little getaway with my husband. His birthday, my birthday, and our anniversary are all within a week, and we took off and had a little bit of time away. And as I was sitting in this restaurant, and my husband tried to get someone to come over and sing, some of the staff and the waiters and waitresses, and they were too busy. So he got up and he announced to the whole restaurant that it was my birthday and would they please sing with him. And they all sang. Now that was extremely embarrassing, but what are the possibilities? Like sometimes we just have to ask. Sometimes we just have to step out of that comfort zone and say, hey, will you guys sing with me? How many times do we see something happen that is just spontaneous and yet it becomes something big? With social media, we have things that go viral, and we have things that do that on a daily basis. Sometimes it's just a silly little video that was not meant to be anything other than a learning lesson. In fact, I have a really good friend that wore short shorts and went on a family activity to teach his daughter that she had short shorts and he wanted her to wear longer ones, that there was a purpose there. And it went viral. Things like this in our life go viral all the time, and they make pivotal turning points in our life with different things for us to look at. What are those possibilities? For me, I spent a lot of my time thinking, oh, I'm just a mom and I'm doing all this with my kids and that's what's most important. We went through a lot of health challenges and a lot of difficulty. And as we went through those difficulties, I didn't know why I was going through them. I didn't know why I handled it differently than most people. And I didn't know why I was good at it. And it didn't really go full circle until a few years ago, and quite a few, but several years ago when I went, I am good at that. I finally embraced it. And I became empowered with more possibilities of what my life could be and what I could do in my life to make a difference for others. All Things Possible was created on actually becoming empowered with the possibilities of what we could do, what a difference we could make, and how that could look for other people. Many times in our life we get stuck in that rut of where we are, and we don't think there's anything else. We just go to work, come home, do all the things we gotta do, chase the kids, and think that's everything there is, and that's not. I meet with people on a daily basis that I'm like, well, what if? Or Have you looked at it from this perspective? I love to mentor because it's a good chance for me to ask good questions and get my clients' thoughts really going on what could that look like? How could that be different? Why am I looking at it from this perspective? Have you ever thought, what else is out there? Have you sat down and just written out, like, what could life be like? I know that a lot of people, when they meet with me, are like, oh, we could never do that, or that's not a possibility for us, and that's just not in the cards. And that's not true. You can accomplish anything you set your mind to. Many times we don't think that we can accomplish something and we can't do something, and so we say, oh, I can't. Well, if you say you can't, you won't. Guaranteed. But when you start to open up the possibility that it could be different, and it could be something bigger, and it could be something that's more fulfilling than what you're doing right now. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to be in business for themselves, or they need to be a speaker or a trainer or a mentor or have all this expertise in those areas. I'm saying be the best you can be in what you are good at. If that's in the medical field, if that's in, a garbage collector, be the best garbage collector that you can be. If there's a way to systemize it to be better, like, why not? But we have to start somewhere, and we have to actually have that drive from within. Most of the time we spend all the time in our head, and we get stuck there in it won't work in all the details, instead of going to our heart and what do we really feel? What do we want to do? What do we feel called to do? What is our purpose? Are you making the difference in other people's lives that you really want to make? Are you out there challenging someone's thought process to possibly look at things differently? Just this past week, I had a friend pass away, and 51 years old, way too young to be gone. Such a good man. And it makes you really reflect on what you're doing in your life and how you're handling it. As I went to this funeral, I saw a lot of old friends, people that haven't lived around me for about 10 years, and some of them less. And it was amazing that so many of them were like, oh my gosh, you're doing this, and you're doing this, and you're doing this. With social media and with the internet, we're able to do so many things. And I was given so much feedback on how it was making a difference and an impact on other people's lives. These are people I had no idea were watching the videos or the TV series or any of that information. And yet, that for me was huge, because I do this so that I can make a difference in other people's lives. So I can bring happiness back into their life, purpose, and a possibility that it could be different. That you can get through those challenges and move forward and be a contribution to your community. I love to do this. And so when I was talking to these people and found out just how many brought it up, it made a big difference in my world, because that's why I do it. So let me ask you this. What are you good at? What are you doing? What do people ask you for your input for? How could you be making the difference? How could you be changing lives? How could you make things better at the workplace? Maybe it's coaching that baseball team. Maybe it's, that soccer team, being a part of your children's lives. Maybe it's being that profound difference. Maybe it's stepping up and doing things that are uncomfortable and hard, possibly embarrassing. My husband, speaker, trainer, and healer, and yet standing up in the restaurant and asking everyone to sing, that stretched him. He was like, I was uncomfortable going, excuse me, will you guys all sing to my wife? What is it that you need to do to get out of your comfort zone to stretch just enough to make that difference? All of us have a purpose inside of us. And our world has an awakening going on. We have a rise in the energy field and in the knowledge that's going on in the energy field. So what is your purpose? What are you really good at? What's your expertise, and how can you make a difference? That is what your empowered possibility is. If you were empowered to do anything in the world that you wanted, what would it be? Now, some people will be like, oh, I'd go stay at the lake all night, all my life. But is that a possibility? What could you do at the lake that would make it better than it was before? We spend a lot of time at Lake Powell during the summertime, and when we go down there, there's a lot of writing books and a lot of business and content. There's a lot of things that go on, but there's a lot of free time, and there's a lot of time spent in pondering and meditation and focus. And there is a lot of time that there's people there to serve us. Like, what is it? Are you a pilot? Be the best pilot you can be. And find that purpose that really lives for you. If you're at that job that's 8 to 5, or possibly you don't have a job and you're wondering what your purpose is, that's where I was for a long time. Find what you're passionate about. Find how you can make a difference. There's always that level of difficulty of stepping out into the world of being out and on stage and being somewhat transparent. And for a long time I struggled, and I kept saying, oh, I can't do it. I had all these excuses. And at one point there was a family member that said, well, what makes you think you have all that to say anyway? And I really took that in and kind of questioned myself. And I finally came up to the fact that I did have good to give. And I did have a lot of expertise, a lot of experience, a lot of education. And that I had to embrace it. So what is it that you're not embracing? Or what is it that you're only embracing to a certain point? Let's go out of the box. Let's push out away from where you are and have a different result. How would your life be different if you were really stepping out all the way, being vulnerable and being all that you can be? How would your life be different? Whose life would you bless? And what would you do? What is your empowered possibility? What kind of a difference could you be making? What is your purpose? Why are you here? How is the world a better place because you're in it? Recently we got some difficult news about a family member, and this is the greatest man, one of the greatest men I've ever known, and he has a disease which will not allow him to spend much more time with us, and he will not be full functioning. A horrible, difficult time for our family as we face this difficulty. And yet I can look at it and go, he has always been passionate about a purpose and always made a difference. He's always the first person to serve and to help. He's the first person to make a difference, the most willing to do any type of service and jump in, whether it's the dishes after dinner or it's taking a load of wood to someone who needs it. He's always lived his life that way. And it really gives us an example of live your life like there's no tomorrow. Live your life to the fullest right now, doing it how you would want to be remembered. What is your legacy going to look like? How is that going to be for you? What are you leaving as a legacy, and how are you making that difference? What is the impact that you have? I know this has been a different episode today, but I just want to get you thinking. I want you to look at it from a different perspective and see things through your heart. What do you love? What do you want? And how does that look? Thanks for joining me today. I want to offer you a free strategy session. You can go to my website at allthingspossible.biz, right here again, allthingspossible.biz, and go to the Contact Us button. Just send me a quick email, I want a free strategy session. You can get that for free. We can chat about what your empowered possibilities could be, how that could look for you, and what your next step is. We can also talk about your challenges. What are you faced with right now, and how could you look at that a little differently, or how could your life be different? What could we do? What's your next step? Thanks for joining me on All Things Possible TV, and we'll see you next week here on this channel. I'm Kris Barney, and thanks for being here. Bye-bye.